Have you ever met someone so quick-witted they could turn any trouble into a victory? In a little village where cobblestones soaked up the afternoon sun and rosemary spilled over garden walls, there lived a cook named Grethel. She wasn't just any cook. Her roast chicken could make your mouth water from halfway down the road. And she knew it. Grethel had a bounce in her step, helped along by her bright red shoes with little rosettes stitched on top. Whenever she passed a polished kettle or a shop window, she'd pause, turn just enough to make her skirt twirl, and whisper, "Hello there, beautiful," as if the reflection might wink back. She loved how she looked almost as much as she loved the magic she worked in the kitchen. One late afternoon, her master, a sharply dressed man with a fondness for rich dinners, came into the kitchen looking pleased with himself. "Grethel," he said, "an important guest is coming for supper tonight. Roast 2 of our finest chickens and make them perfect." Grethel smiled, wiping her hands on her apron. "Leave it to me, sir." She worked with a kind of joy that only comes from doing something you truly love. The chickens were plucked and seasoned, rubbed with rosemary and salt, brushed with melting butter, and set to turn slowly over a crackling fire. The skin began to crisp into the color of deep caramel, and each drop of fat that hissed into the coals sent up tiny golden sparks that swirled like summer fireflies. The scent drifted out the open window, curling into the cool evening air. But as the hours stretched on, the guest never appeared. Grethel stepped into the hallway. "Sir, the chickens are nearly ready. If we don't eat soon, they'll dry out." "You're right," he replied with a frown. "I'll go and fetch the guest myself." And just like that, Grethel was alone, with 2 perfect chickens and a kitchen that smelled like a dream. The heat from the fire had made her cheeks rosy, and her throat was a little dry. "A small drink won't hurt," she murmured, skipping down the steps to the cool stone-walled cellar. She filled a jug, lifted it high, and toasted herself. "To Grethel, may her roasts always be juicy." She took a sip, and then another. Back at the fire, the smell was richer than ever, wrapping around her like a warm blanket. She gave the chickens a gentle basting and leaned closer. "Better make sure they're perfect," she said, breaking off a crisp little wingtip. The taste was heavenly, so she took another bite. She peeked out the window. No master, no guest. The first wing was gone. "Well, it wouldn't be fair to leave the other one alone," she reasoned. Soon, both wings had disappeared, and the wine had given her cheeks an extra blush and her mind a playful spark. "What if they never come?" she whispered. "Such a shame to waste them." With a shrug and a grin, she carved into 1 chicken. Bite by bite, it vanished until only the bones were left. She turned to the second bird, sitting all alone on its platter. "We can't have you feeling left out," she said. And down went the second. She had just finished licking the last buttery crumbs from her fingers when the door creaked open. "Grethel," her master called. "The guest is right behind me." Her eyes widened. 2 empty plates. 2 empty bellies. Well, except hers. Then she smiled the kind of smile that meant trouble was about to turn into opportunity. She rushed to the door where the guest, tall and finely dressed, was just stepping up the path. "Shh," she whispered urgently. "Run! Leave now while you can." The guest blinked in confusion. "Why?" She leaned in, her eyes wide. "He's sharpening a knife right now. Says he's going to cut off your ears." From the side of the house came the scraping of metal on stone, her master's carving knife meeting the whetstone. The guest turned pale. "But he said he'd feed me." "Maybe the chickens are just bait," she whispered. "Go before it's too late." The man didn't hesitate. He spun around and bolted down the road, coattails flapping. Grethel hurried back inside, flapping her hands in pretend panic. "Oh, sir! That dreadful guest! He burst in, snatched the chickens right off the table, and ran away like a thief!" "What?" her master cried. "Not even one for me?" He snatched up his carving knife and stormed after the fleeing man, shouting, "Just one! Just one!" But to the terrified guest, glancing back over his shoulder, it sounded like, "Just one ear! He ran even faster. Grethel, meanwhile, slipped off her red shoes, curled up in her chair by the fire, and sighed happily. 2 chickens, 2 ears, and too much fun, she murmured. Being clever means thinking fast, but it's also about knowing when to turn a sticky moment into a sweet one, though perhaps next time Grethel might roast an extra bird, just in case her appetite beats her manners. Like, comment, and subscribe for more magical tales, and tell me in the comments, if you were Grethel, would you have tasted the chicken or waited for the guest? I'd love to hear your answer.